Today is Tuesday, September 6th. We'll explain what it means now that a judge has granted former President Trump's request for a special master and what comes next, and what to know about the woman set to become the new British Prime Minister, plus the impact of a relentless heat wave in the western U.S., why NASA delayed its Artemis launch again for the second time in a week, and the emotional speech as the sports world says goodbye to a legend. We're catching you up on all those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A federal judge just sided with former President Trump, giving the okay for a so-called special master to review the documents and other evidence seized from Mar-a-Lago. So it means an independent legal expert, someone like a former judge, for example, will review all the records taken during the FBI search of Trump's Florida home last month. And while that's happening, the Justice Department will not be allowed to use the records, at least temporarily, for its ongoing investigation into the classified and top-secret info found at Mar-a-Lago. Instead, a special master will first weed out any documents that might be considered protected, either by attorney-client privilege or executive privilege. And executive privilege is the one where there was a lot of disagreement. It's when a president in particular is allowed to keep some things private in order to carry out presidential duties. Trump and his team had argued some of the documents seized fall under that privilege, and that a neutral third party was needed to find them and give them back to him. Now in a statement, Trump didn't directly talk about this ruling, but said it, quote, takes courage and guts to fight a totally corrupt Department of Justice and the FBI. But the Justice Department had argued the docs belong to the government, not Trump, since he's not president anymore, and executive privilege doesn't apply. The DOJ also argued a special master wasn't necessary, since they had already reviewed what was taken from Mar-a-Lago, and that it could delay its investigation into the top-secret records found at an unauthorized location. Now, the Justice Department says it's reviewing the judge's opinion and considering best next steps. To be clear, we don't know yet if any documents actually fall under executive privilege, just that the judge is allowing a special master to look for any. And who the special master will be is one of the next big questions. The DOJ and Trump's legal team have until the end of this week to turn in their lists of potential special master candidates. Stay tuned. A new era in leadership begins today in the United Kingdom. Boris Johnson is on his way out as prime minister, and Liz Truss, the current foreign minister, is on her way in. Johnson is expected to meet with Queen Elizabeth today and officially resign. Truss will be with them and ask the Queen for permission to take charge. As you might know, prime ministers aren't voted in by all citizens who register to vote, like here in the States. They're chosen by whichever political party has the most elected members in Parliament. In the UK, that's the Conservative Party. Johnson had been in charge of things since 2019. He was forced to resign after months of scandals cost him in the support of his party, as well as many throughout his country. Truss taking over will mark only the third time in history that a woman will serve as British Prime Minister. And she'll face an economic crisis right away, including a record inflation rate higher than the United States. Gas and energy prices are also soaring because of a shutdown of one of Russia's main pipelines to Europe. As one of her first acts, Truss says she's going to deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow the economy. Stay tuned. Police are searching for one of two suspects in one of the deadliest attacks in Canada's modern history. A deadly string of stabbing attacks killed at least 10 people and 18 others have been hurt. Authorities believe some of the victims were targeted and others look like they were chosen randomly. Police say the killers are a pair of brothers. One of them was found dead yesterday. The duo apparently began terrorizing areas around Saskatchewan on Sunday and mostly targeted spots inside an Indigenous community. For now, police are not saying what set the brothers off, but investigators are searching for clues at more than a dozen different crime scenes. Until the final brother is captured, Canadian authorities are telling people in the area to be careful and call in any information they may have. Well, back in the U.S., multiple wildfires are burning in California, while millions of people face what one weather historian called the worst September heat wave in the western U.S. ever. First, about the fires. The so-called Fairview fire, about 80 miles east of Los Angeles near Hemet, California, started just yesterday afternoon and grew quickly. Already, fire officials say at least 2 people were killed and several buildings have been burned. More than 3,000 homes were under evacuation orders as of last night. And near Big Bear Lake, another fire forced more evacuations. And unfortunately, that's not all. Both the Mill and Mountain fires are burning in Northern California near the Oregon border. They've caused more than 1,000 people to evacuate and destroyed more than 100 homes. Authorities say at least 2 people have died in the Mill fire as well. Dozens of other fires are burning around the state, too, and the risk of new fires is high because of this extreme heat wave. Temperatures in California are expected to peak by today, but temps in some areas have already set records. In fact, temperatures in Death Valley got to 127 degrees. Weather experts say that wasn't just the hottest temperature in the country, that's hotter than any place on the entire planet has ever been during the month of September. But many other areas, including around LA, had triple-digit temperatures that tied or surpassed records as well. And because of this extreme heat, millions of Californians have been told to conserve energy in the hopes of avoiding blackouts. The road to the midterm elections continues today, this time in Massachusetts. So voters are choosing who they want to move forward to November. Notably, for the first time in 8 years, Massachusetts will be getting a new governor, a new lieutenant governor, and a new attorney general. Republicans are hoping to hold on to the governor's office and are choosing between a former state representative and Trump supporter, Jeff Deal, or businessman and political newcomer, Chris Doty. Whoever wins will take on the state's current attorney general, Democrat Maura Healey. If Healey were to be elected in November, she would be the state's first openly gay governor and the first woman elected governor of Massachusetts. Other competitive statewide races on the ballot there this year are for Secretary of State and State Auditor. All right, we have more news for you still coming up, but first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor. When I'm trying to research what doctor to go to, it can feel really time-consuming, and it often feels like there aren't a lot of resources out there. That's why I appreciate ZocDoc. It makes finding the right doctor feel as straightforward as picking the best brunch spot in town or ordering a ride to a restaurant. In other words, it helps my research process by putting everything in one place online. I'm talking doctors that fit my schedule, are in-network, that's key, and even in my neighborhood. I just set the filters, click a button, and boom, I get to see that they take my insurance, where they're located, and what availability looks like. And I even get to see verified patient reviews for each doctor. Again, ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc. Simply go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. For the second time in a week, NASA had to call off the test launch of its most powerful rocket yet, that is meant to one day carry astronauts to the moon. In this most recent attempt on Saturday, a hydrogen fuel leak forced NASA to scrap the launch. Just days before that, NASA called off the first launch attempt because of other technical issues. Now NASA says it won't try again until at least later this month or even next month. NASA says it wants to make sure it fully understands and fixes what happened over the weekend. NASA officials stood behind this decision, even though the mission is already behind schedule and billions of dollars over budget. Ultimately, this launch is meant to test the rocket and capsule before astronauts are on board. The retail and business world is in shock, trying to process the sudden death of one of Bed Bath & Beyond's top executives. Police in New York City say the company's chief financial officer, Gustavo Arnal, fell to his death out of a window of his 18th-story apartment. Police are investigating it as a suicide. Bed Bath & Beyond released a statement sharing their condolences with Arnal's family, saying it was, quote, profoundly saddened by this shocking loss. His death comes right as Bed Bath & Beyond announced plans to close 150 stores and lay off thousands of employees. And just days earlier, Arnal and others were named in a class action lawsuit accusing them of what's known as a pump and dump scheme to artificially inflate the price of Bed Bath & Beyond's stock. According to the lawsuit, he sold over $1 million of his company's stock at a high of $30 per share just before the stock tanked. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts or other mental health issues, you can call or text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Drugstore giant CVS has reached a multi-billion-dollar deal that is a big push into the in-home healthcare space. CVS said it would buy Signify Health for $8 billion. Signify provides the technology and analytics to help with in-home patient care. It'll be one of CVS's biggest acquisitions, assuming regulators sign off. Competitors Amazon and Walgreens have also made more moves into the world of healthcare. Well, there are athletes, there are star players, and then there are legends. We end today's main news with what likely was the end of Serena Williams' professional tennis career when the 23-time Grand Slam champion lost in the third round of the U.S. Open. The almost 41-year-old Williams has said she's ready to evolve away from her playing days, though she didn't want to use the word retirement. After that final match against her opponent, Ayla Tomljanovic, on Friday, her emotions showed. Tears fell, and Williams said, quote, "I'm so grateful to every single person that's ever said, 'Go Serena,' in their life." She entered the professional tennis world back in 1995, along with her older sister Venus. Many regard the Williams sisters as the best the sport has ever seen. When asked if she might make a comeback, Williams said, quote, "I don't think so, but you never know." That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, this podcast is sponsored by Indeed. If you're a business owner that likes to get these news roundups that save you time, you'll love Indeed. Because with Indeed Instant Match, you can instantly get a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Hiring? You need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't have to spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Hate waiting? Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. I always appreciate a platform that brings everything you need into one place and essentially does the hard work for you. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on hiring. Visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is inspired by the NFL regular season kicking off later this week. Which is the only American football team to go an entire season undefeated, including the Super Bowl? You can answer the question and play along with us over on Instagram. Just find and follow us at NewsworthyPod. Look for the trivia quiz in our Instagram stories today. As for last week's trivia question, in Greek mythology, who was known as the messenger of the gods? The answer is Hermes. Hermes is one of the Greek gods with the longest history and is considered one of the more colorful gods in Greek mythology. But he was best known as the messenger of the gods, as he was associated with crossing boundaries between the realm of the gods and the world of mortals. Scholars think his name probably derived from the Greek word herma, which means a heap of stones, which were used in the country to show boundaries or a landmark. According to some myths, he wasn't only a messenger of the gods, but was also known as the Greek god of many other things, including the inventor of speech. Even today, the science of interpretation is known as hermeneutics. All right, thank you so much for listening today. We will be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.